To begin my painting, I'm going to start with a flat angled brush. It's a 1/2 inch and it's made for watercolor, acrylic, or in this case, gouache. I'm going to start with kind of a watery mix, and I want just a really light, kind of like a bluish purple color. I want it to stay pretty light, pretty watery, so I'm mixing some of my white, some of my blue, and lots of water. All right, I just want to kind of draw out my main cow shape. So the head is just going to be like right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and widen it up a little bit. It's kind of like almost looks like a casket right now. It's kind of funny. So it's kind of this funny angle where the top is kind of like that. I'm looking for kind of the main angles, and then the bottom goes down like that. So there's kind of the main head shape. And I will widen the nose a little bit because that does come out. So there's the cow's head, bright blue cow head. Next, I'm going to go ahead and get the body in there. So right about where this kind of comes out, I'm going to go ahead and make a line for the cow's body coming off to the side, and then it'll just kind of go down like this. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in for now, just with like a light watery wash of blue. Who'd have thought I'd be starting off with a bright blue cow, but all right, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. I may even add a little bit more purple to the mix in places here. And then I also need ears, so I'm going to go ahead and put those in too. The ears just kind of come off to the side like this. So one's there and one's there. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of fan them out a little bit so they look more like ears. Hopefully this is looking somewhat like a cow, even if it is a bright blue and purple one. You can kind of see where I'm headed. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that like it is. Now I'm going to go in and add some of my darks to my cow here. So to do my darks, I'm going to mix a Prussian blue, which is a nice dark rich blue, with like a cobalt purple. We're using watercolors. Those two would work well to get kind of a nice rich dark color. I'm going to start kind of on the body here and map out where I want the cow's spots to be. And you can see the paint is still wet, so it's okay if it's kind of bleeding a little bit. I'll mess with that later. I just am kind of mapping out where things are here on this picture. So I want the spots to kind of come down like this. It's going to be a big chunk of black, and then maybe I'm going to have another chunk up here on the top part of the cow, and maybe another little spot that's kind of going like that. For the face, I want to have some areas kind of around the eye that are dark, so we're going to go kind of like this and then curve out for the nose, and all this is going to be a darker shade of paint. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to start kind of over here, go close to there, and then come back out for the nose and fill that in with the black, or my dark. It will be black eventually, but my dark shades. I do want pretty dark ears too, so I'm going to go ahead and throw some dark in here. Throw those in. This one needs a little bit more to hold on to. The head. Go ahead and make this ear black as well. Or in this case, a dark purpley blue mixture. And we'll kind of go from there. If I get a little too crazy, like let's say I make my ears too big, I can always correct that when I come back in later with the background. So I'm not too worried about that. All right, go ahead and add the color for the nose, which is more of like a pinkish, peachish color. So I'm going to mix some of my red with some of my white to get kind of a peachy color. There's a little bit of yellow and purple already there, so those kind of got mixed in. The nose will be just kind of right here in that color. We'll be going back in and adding some details there later. I also might add a little bit of this color to the top where there's some extra fur kind of hanging out over the top part of the cow. We'll kind of mess with that later too. So just to kind of tie this color in some other spots, I'm throwing it in elsewhere, but I will cover that, most of that, when I get to it. All right, I'm going to switch to a pointed brush so I can get some of the eye details in. And for those, I'm actually going to go in with a pretty dark color. So I'm going to mix some black with my blue and purple. I want it to be a really dark, rich color. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of figure out where my eyes are. So my first eye is going to be kind of right here, hanging off the side of the cow. And I'm going to go ahead and just make it almost like a C right there, and then I'm going to put an eyeball inside like that, so you really can't see too much, but it's just kind of the eye shape and then kind of a little eyelid that goes over it. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, so I'm going to make kind of the eye shape is like a black oval, and then the lid kind of hanging out over the top of it. And we'll have to figure out a way to make those eyes stand out among the black areas of the cow. While I have the dark on my brush, I'm going to go ahead and fill in some of the really dark areas of my cow. So I'm going to go kind of along here and do some stuff on the inside of the ear. Make sure that that's super dark. I'm also going to do that to the other side over here, make sure that's super dark. I'm leaving a little bit of the bluish purple showing through here. I'm going to kind of add some areas down here in the eyes to make a little bit of a darker area there. I don't want it just to make the entire thing too black, because then you won't be able to see things like the eyes or areas, the separate sections of the cow. I'm going to darken some of the body here, but I do want to leave some of that blue-purple mixture kind of showing through. So I don't want that to get too crazy with all the dark paint. I'm just going to darken some sections of this too. 1 and 2. All right. Now it's time to get into some of the lighter sections so this cow doesn't look so blue. So I'm going to take my white, and I don't want it to be like a pure white, so I'm going to mix it with a little bit of this cream I've got on my palette here, and I'm going to start kind of filling in some of those lighter areas. Now it will pick up some of the color underneath if I make it kind of watery, so I am kind of keeping it a little bit more watery so that it's not like a pure white. You can see some of the stuff underneath. Go ahead and fill the in on the body, lighten that up a little bit, and then on the face too, I do want this to be a lot brighter here in the middle. Into the little hair on the top of his head. I also want to do a little bit under shoulder here. That's also some white kind of going on under the cow. So that looks like black patches. All right, big difference, yes? All right, while that's kind of drying, I'm gonna go ahead and mess around with the background some. So I'm switching back to my big brush, and I wanna go pretty bold and bright with like a nice sunny blue sky. So I'm going to go ahead and add some bright blue to my background. And see how that looks right up next to this cow. Living in Wisconsin, we are known for our dairy farms. We have all kinds of yummy cheeses available all over the place. And so I feel like this is a big symbol. Cows are a big symbol of our state. And they're just so cute. I actually got to live on a farm for about 10 weeks when I was learning to be a teacher in Wisconsin. And the people that I lived with had beef cows, and then their next door was their son and his family, and he had the dairy cows, so we got to go over and see that. I would sit in their barn and draw pictures of the cows in their stalls while they were kind of hanging out in the barn. I thought it was super fun. Cool learning experience on how farm life works and just the day-to-day stuff that you gotta do. All right, so there's a nice bright blue sky. I like to add a little bit more color along the bottom here. And now the cow needs to pop a little more. It's kind of getting lost, so I want to really go bright with some of my whites and some of my details on my cow. All right, before I do that, I'm going to add a nose so that the cow can smell. That's just kind of two little curved lines right here with my darker colors. And then I also want to add some detail to the eyes so that those aren't getting lost in all of the rest of the cow here. So I'm going to add a little bit more of the darks, and then I'm going to add some highlights to those eyes so that they stand out just a little bit more. They don't get so lost in my cow. All right, so I'm going to start with some highlights, and I'm just using the tip of my brush here, and I'm going to go with pure white, and I want to add just a little bit of light to the top part of the eyes with some pure white, and then a little bit of a mark on the inside of the eye here. And then I'm ready to do a little bit towards the inside corner of the eye too, just to really make sure they stand out. I'm also going to do some bright white right above the nose, so that really pops. And then kind of bring it up a little bit. Some bright white right in here. I'm going to do some bright white kind of up in here a little bit so that that stands out. Top part here, and then of course on the back I do want to add a little bit of bright white too, so it really pops off the page. All right, I'm I'm going to brighten up the top part of the nose so that that stands out a little bit more with some real light pinkish, peachish color. Do a little bit right here as well. And I think I'm going to call that good. I don't want to overwork it. Right, so there is my cow picture. Hope you enjoyed painting that.